we're catalysts in each other's lives as well as our own, and we work at being the artists we've always wanted to be. Whew. Uh, so anyway, I'm in a really good mood, and I'll tell you why. While I'm painting, behind me I have a canvas that I'm going to start, and this is going to be part of one of my taller paintings, a taller figure portrait thing. So this is one of two canvases that I'm going to be prepping. But I'm just going to play with the camera for just a sec. Just a sec. Oh, it's not really going to matter because I'll screw it up anyway. Blah, blah, blah. This is, yes, okay, so this is sorry, I just got lost again. I'm in an excellent mood. I am in a most excellent mood. Last night, well, never mind, before I get there. So this is one of two canvases that I'm going to be prepping for a two-figure, two-portrait, two-panel piece. They are Mr. and Mrs. Colson, Reverend and Mrs. Colson, who were the first black couple to establish themselves in Sarasota. I've forgotten the language, the correct language, but they were the settlers. They were the first black settlers. There it is, here in Sarasota. And I've wanted to do a painting of this photograph that we have available of them for 2 or 3 years, but I've had no context for it. And that's the thing, is waiting for the context, waiting for the right impetus. So we're not just painting pretty pictures of, or we're not just painting pictures of it. So you can really, really feel it. You can really feel the subject matter and have a drive to develop them that is almost uncontrollable. As I've talked about many times, I used to do a lot of work that had no direction. It had no rhyme or reason or direction. But as I've gone along and fine-tuned and really thought about the work I was producing, I started to find more and more reasons to do what I was doing. And the reasons are normally, for me, when somebody says don't. Then I go, oh, okay, that's the right thing to do. Obviously, if someone's telling you not to do it, it's the correct reason. There's a reason I should be doing it. And as I've told you many times, I've been told repeatedly not to paint black people, not to paint African Americans because they don't sell. They're not commercial enough. We don't have black customers. We don't have black clients. The stuff I've been told, nobody is interested in hanging black, okay, this is going to come out wrong, but hanging black people in their home. Totally wrong. Sorry to giggle over it because it's horrible. But I've literally been told that, meaning people don't want black and brown African American figures in their homes. Well, what people don't? Who are these people that don't? And then I have to look at their customer base and go, oh, okay, you're simplistic. You're selling simplistic work, and I'm not interested. So I have found, as we know, I have found an audience for the figures that I paint, whether they're black, brown, of Asian descent, or of the Pacific descent, whatever I'm painting. I have found an audience there. I have found my people. My people have found me. People who appreciate the work. So when I hear from someone don't, then I go, right thing to do. That's the absolute right thing to do. And I have a habit too of when somebody says you should. I get that stomach churning feeling when somebody says you should. Immediately I'm like, probably shouldn't. We're going to think about this. Probably should not even consider doing this. So I sit and think about it for a while. And think, why is this person telling me I should do something that makes my stomach turn? It's because I know it's inappropriate to me and inappropriate to my work and disrespectful of the work, disrespectful of me, and disrespectful of my figures, all the figure work that I've done, the portfolios I've built up. So I tend to take the shoulds. Sometimes it takes me 2 seconds to come up with no. And then other times it takes me a few days while I process it, like thinking, where is this coming from? Is it true to me, or is it true to this person? They're actually speaking to themselves about what they should do. So I'm going forward with the Coulson piece, and I'll explain why in a minute. Not only do we have Shade 2, my third solo show here in Sarasota coming up in October, where it is going to be, once again, all black and brown African American figures. Not only do we have that coming up, but it's a portfolio of work that I will be building on. There's multiple portfolios within Shade that I'm hoping to work on, that I will be working on over time. If I have the time, I will, if I have the time left, I will be working on these portfolios. So I'm thrilled. It's just something I've wanted to do, but again, I haven't had the correct, I knew the correct, I understood that I was being given the correct impetus, but it was actually, it's been handed to me, and I'll explain in a little bit. Let's move this over just a little bit. My little tripod on a chair. And this is a painting I started yesterday. Oh God, this is me and getting set up. It's just, oh. Well, we know how it goes here. There's always a thing, and it's okay. There we go. Let's see if this works. So this is another Frida portfolio that I wanted to start. I'm working on the 55 portraits. I'm doing the 55 portraits, but I'm also getting this rote feeling while I'm doing them at this point. We've got 26 set up. I've got a couple more canvases ready to go, but I was feeling this real, I don't want to say boredom, but this roteness to it. And I don't ever want the work to come across as, well, she did another one, it's a dog and pony trick. On the outside, I don't want it to look like that or feel like that. And then on the inside, for me, I don't want it to feel like this has become so easy. I can just pump these out and it doesn't matter. They all matter. Every single one of these matters. Every single portrait, whether it's Frida, the black and brown figures, whatever I'm doing, these people, whether they're people that are known or not, from any one of my multiple portfolios or an abstract or landscape, they all matter. They all matter. There is a person or people out there that this is going to matter to. So it has to be more than a pretty picture. It has to feel genuine, and it has to have passion behind it. So I'm starting, I'm doing this first canvas. I'm starting this first painting for a second Frida portfolio. Once I do the 55, well, I'm going to get it up to 30 in the next couple of weeks. I'll get the total up to 30 done for this first installment over the next few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. We're going to do an artist talk about that first installment of 30 or so. Once that kind of that goal, rather, I've reached that goal, I also want to start working on a post-mortem portfolio of Frida's, which is, I haven't quite figured out the tone of it and how I want to handle things, but I'm starting a new one anyway for that portfolio, for the post-mortem Frida portfolio, meaning after she was gone, what did she leave behind? We know she left a legacy, but there were also things and there were ideas that she left behind in the world that were discovered after she passed, and people are still discovering or rediscovering or just learning about or relearning about and trying to see them with fresh eyes, hopefully. So this is going to be Frida, and I don't want to, or a Frida post-mortem, but what I don't want to do is more Frida, this is what Frida looked like. This is Frida in the casket. This is post-mortem Frida. I'm not doing that. It's too explicit. It's too easy. But I'm afraid on this one it may have been a little too easy too. But I just got to keep moving forward. And again, it's finding that reason, finding that path, finding the intent behind the work. So with Frida here, of course, we can see her hands, and her hands are actually from two different photographs. One is her from a photograph where she's young, and she's sitting in a chair in this photograph. Really, I just find it beguiling. She's seated in a chair with a white blouse and a black dress, or a dark skirt rather, and she's up against a white wall or whitish wall with a portrait that another artist had painted of her kind of high above. But she's holding this cigarette in her hands, and as we know, Frida loved holding cigarettes. Frida loved smoking, and it was mainly to give people the finger, because some people would lecture her and tell her you shouldn't, and tell her who she should be. And they were constantly defining who she should be, how she should see herself, how she should define herself, how she should present. And that cigarette was one of many pushbacks that she gave. So this hand, actually, let me grab a piece of chalk. This hand is from that photograph with a cigarette sticking out of her hand, between her fingers rather. And then this hand is actually from a much later photograph, and so isn't the dress that's going to be detailed in here. It's from a much later photograph. She's much older. She's very, very gaunt. She's at the end of her life. She is very sick. She's lost her leg. She has an infection. She is very, very sick. But she has her hand held in such a way against this fabulous dress that she's wearing, this fabulous costume of hers, that I wanted to incorporate it. So we're going to have the dress here, and there's lots of embroidery that I've been focused on lately throughout the dress. It'll be up here in these heavy sleeves that you can't see yet because it's just in chalk and aerosol. She's got this lace cuff hanging down, and then I've got to remember to apply the lace cuff over here. She has a necklace on in this later photograph that's kind of dangling down, and looking at it, I think it's a bird, I'm not sure, but I'm going to include the symbol of a bird as the necklace, because it was one of her iconic symbols, because she based it, because of her Mexican heritage and the meaning of the bird, which I can't remember right now, in Mexican, pre-Columbian, Aztec, South American culture. So we've got the dress, we've got the two different hands coming down, and what they're doing is she's laying her hands on a watermelon. And Frida did a lot of still lifes of watermelon and fruit, and of course she incorporated parrots and all kinds of stuff. So what I'm doing here, this is pretty simplistic in its idea, in its content. So I'm not particularly comfortable with it. It just has that feel of, this is just too easy. Has that feel of, this is just too easy. So I have to find something deeper, but this is where we're going, is the hands, the dress, the bird, and the watermelon. And the watermelon in this, I'm trying to find my way. I'm trying to carve my way to a deeper meaning. And what I'm using the watermelon as, in this particular instance, is to represent Frida, her art, and then we've got Diego. And Diego is cut open and he's alive, and his colors, as a watermelon. If Diego were a watermelon, he would be cut open, and what she did you can kind of see it in her still lifes, she had them carved open with these jagged edges, some of them. So I'm using a sliced open, jagged edge watermelon to symbolize Diego. So we've got this triad. Oh, I know what I was going to put in. I was going to include the accident as a watermelon. The impetus for her becoming an artist. I kind of forgot that. We could include one of her papayas in the background, or actually, we could include it as a papaya here. Oh, keep dropping my chalk, sorry. So, yeah, I'm going to think about that, but I think maybe we'll include the papaya there. And then here, too, as part of the postmortem ideas, I started sketching first in aerosol and then in oil, this tiny figure that she carries in one photograph. There's this famous photograph of her holding up this little green figurine. And so I want to include that because I'm assuming it was one of her favorites. You can tell I've been doing a lot of research. It's just kind of I do the work and then I figure it out as the reference material is directing me. I'll just kind of do the work, and then sometimes I'll find out the meaning behind the photograph or the circumstances behind the photograph later. Or when I get bored with it, I'll go sit in front of my computer and research, which is a little backwards, but there we are. You know, I've been trying to figure out the background, and what I could do is continue on with the embroidery work and the applique work that I've been working into. I don't know, what do I have, 5, 6 different actual portraits of her. I could continue to do it here. I'm a little worried that that would come across as kitschy, and I want to stay away from simplistic and easy and kitschy. I want to find something a little bit deeper, but it's my dilemma. What am I going to put in the background? What am I going to use here? It's finding that deeper meaning. Now she did this, she had a habit, and I don't really understand why. I think I do, but I'm not sure. She had a habit of putting skies behind her still life. Blue skies with lots of clouds. I'm a little worried that if I do it, it'll come across as kitschy. I'm worried if I don't do it, if I use the applique, the embroidery, it's going to come across as a version of kitsch in my brand. I've thought about Aztec temple because at the Blue House, at her home, which is now the museum, they have she and Diego built an Aztec temple, a replica. But again, that could get into kitschy. So I'm gonna think about the background. We're gonna take this on slowly, but that's what we're doing here. This is gonna be the Frida watermelon. This is the art watermelon. There's the Diego watermelon, and then I think maybe the idea of the papaya is good as being the accident, and having it smaller, even though that really did influence the rest of her life. But I like the idea of Frida's hands coming down and holding her watermelon, and the watermelon as Frida being whole, even though she was broken on many levels. She was broken and tired and fighting all the time. I want to show her, I want to express her as a watermelon being healthy and strong, so that we're showing her character, her inner strength, her drive, her passion, and the acknowledgement that she held of her value. So that's one thing I'm working on. I just started that yesterday, but I'm going to pull out. We're going to get this prepped today. Maybe the second one in this live feed. It's not going to be very interesting. It's just me putting black down on this canvas, prepping it the way I do. Now I showed you the other day in the live feed, this is actually my closet, my armoire, and I put screws in it. I use the handle to open it up, and then I put screws in it to hold the canvas. And it's provided me with a 5th painting area. I don't have a lot of space, but even when I do, it's utilizing what's around me. Because this is the only thing that matters to me is painting. I'm not the only thing, but this is my purpose. This is my purpose in life. So why would I have a space and not utilize every inch for painting? Painting is not a passive act for me. And I could decorate, I could make everything decorative and pretty, and I could keep my armoire perfectly clean and nice, and this is just my closet or the space that we're in. I could decorate it and make it into a living space, but I don't understand what the point would be. So this is me prepping. I put down black gesso. I wipe some of it away, make it gray, make little gray areas here and there. And you can tell from the brush strokes, I'm in an excellent mood. Shoulder. I'm in an excellent mood, and now I will explain to you why. And why I'm extremely excited to start this. I went to a school board meeting here in Sarasota. A trans friend of mine asked me to go to the school board meeting because, as we know, Sarasota, actually Florida, has turned into, not recently, but very quickly, things have changed here recently, and it has become the epicenter for white nationalists, the Trump organization, and all True Social. It's become Ron DeSantis's, it's fallen under Ron DeSantis's control in many ways, and kind of a test area for his fight against education, against black people, against the LGBTQIA community. He's found a very wealthy, willing, subservient, unquestioning, propaganda running following here. And with money, by the way, and they have money, a lot of money. And so that's why he's targeting Sarasota, because the powerful people with money are flocking here and setting up these bizarre businesses based on conspiracy theories and following his dictation. So I went to a school board meeting where where the co-founder of Moms for Liberty, which is so ironic, really very clever, because they're not for liberty. It's very, very clever. I found actually a few in contradictory. I found that with these people too, they will come up with these kind of catchy all-American names for their organizations to help pull in maggers, and get them to feel like, yeah, we're important and we're fighting for America, when they're actually taking rights away from people and they're targeting people, especially groups they see vulnerable. They're targeting them with discrimination and hate. So it's not about liberty, and Ron is not about freedom. He just wrote a book and slapped freedom on the cover. He's been here really targeting new college, because of this LGBTQ community there. So I'm at this school board meeting, and Bridget Ziegler is at the head of the school board there. She's running this meeting, and I get to witness one of the ludicrous school board meetings that we all see on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. I got to see one. I was not sitting in the front row. Next time I will, because it was such a ridiculous farce the way she was running it. There's a new school superintendent, and I was watching his face and watching hers and a couple of other people. There's a woman sitting in between them. There are two women. One was very quiet, and the other one, I can't remember her name, it's Karen something or other, was sitting there, and she's a well-known white supremacist. She is an unabashed, unashamed white supremacist, as is Bridget. And lately she's apparently, I don't watch Fox News, but she has apparently been making a spectacle of herself on Fox News, patting herself on the back for Moms for Liberty. And of course Fox News is all excited, because here's this disgusting, hate-filled woman who's as skinny as Ann Coulter, and almost as articulate, but not quite, talking about her agenda and how she's pushing it. And it really, it filled me, it entertained me to no end. I love watching hateful people tip their hand. Because then we can figure out how to fight back. She's got a big mouth. Her weaknesses are, she has a big mouth. She really is not that articulate. She doesn't think things through. She thinks she does, which is awesome. That makes counteractivity a lot easier. Because she thinks she's thinking things through, because she's only talking to people, she's only performing for people who agree with her. Who are like, yes, hating black people is awesome. Yes, hating trans people is awesome. We need to hate them because God and stuff. So I'm watching this and I'm just thinking the whole time, I was laughing too, but I'm thinking the whole time. It's just, it really opened my mind up to things like this. It opened me up. It helped me to find a real good, solid reason to go in with shade 2, with both my middle fingers up. And showing them what's what. That you can't shut everybody up and you don't scare everybody. You don't scare me at all. So I'm super excited. This is one of 2 canvases that will be of Reverend and Mrs. Colson, the first settlers here in Sarasota. I've also got 2 other canvases planned I'm going to be doing another Zora Neale Hurston, hopefully on a large scale, because I screwed up the second one, so I want to get the, and ended up destroying my second portrait of her. I was so angry with myself. But now I have a real reason to get this right. To get her right. And then there's a third couple too. Harry and Harriet, oh crap, I forgot their last names. They were the first, they set up the first double NACP, sorry, here in Florida. And they were martyred by white supremacists. Their house was bombed and they were killed. And their children were left orphans. I'm sorry, I can't remember their last name right now. Even though they're very important, and it's kind of like forgetting Abraham Lincoln's name. So I'm going into shade 2 with sheer exuberance. And also I've been getting a lot of publicity, or I'm starting to get publicity here, and I am being recognized wherever I go, which is kind of cool. But more importantly than I'm being recognized and, you know, people love me, it's all about the work. It's all about the work. And then taking that recognition and leveraging it, so we can shine a light on these cockroach people who are screaming freedom, when really all they're trying to do is crush the freedom of others. But my freedom's so important because, you know, I'm blonde and I'm on Fox News. It's more important than those black people or those homeless people or the LGBTQ people. Because I'm wearing a cross around my neck. It is just utter and complete bullshit. And so I look forward to getting attention on that show, on the figures there, but also it's adding to it. So we're not just doing shade 2, a retread, and showing the exact same stuff. We need fresh work. So I'm really excited to start this thing about the Coulsons. Now when I do this painting of the Coulsons, I'm going to be doing it all in Prussian blue. And that's out of respect for my friend Pam and her husband, who were kind enough to send me Prussian blue. They also sent me a burnt sienna, I believe, which I'm not a fan of burnt sienna, and it's not something I would buy on my own because I work with transparent earth red. However, they sent it to me, so I'm looking at it like a challenge. So this will be Prussian blue, titanium white, and titanium buff with Naples yellow. I love Naples yellow. And in the end, we'll probably sprinkle in some oranges. I'm really excited about this. That meeting last night, watching those leeches who tried to take over the school board squirm, or they're trying not to squirm, as almost every person that got up, because there was an open mic period, of course, and that's what we get to see in reels of the open mics, where people are losing their shit, because LGBTQ people, because, you know, I don't like words in a book, and I don't want my child reading a book. I get to watch them squirm as person after person within the community got up and said, "Not here." And came pretty close to calling Bridget Ziegler a "see you next Tuesday." I mean, I was just delighted. It was so much fun. I love it when seemingly vulnerable people fight back against power, and especially somebody who has such a big, fat, stupid microphone as Ziegler has. You know, she's being put on the most navel-gazing shows on Fox to spout her garbage. So it was awesome, and somebody actually recognized it too. One of the speakers was like, yes, we know you're famous on Fox because of Fox News. And it just, I love it when people punch back. It's the Cinderella story. They think these people with power and just this vile hatred of others and wanting to squish the rights of others, they always think they're going to win. But in the end, they never do. We win. We win. We always win. And they never learn their lesson. So I love watching it again, the same story play out again. And although it really seemed, from my point of view, from where I am in my little place, that the Trumps and the Maggots and the Zieglers and the Ron DeSantises of the world were actually going to win, I don't feel it anymore. And I'm deeply entertained by them at this point. It's not fun and it's not funny. Ron has managed to convince people that their children shouldn't be educated, that their children shouldn't have the hope of having good jobs, and that they should own guns. And what these people who are buying into DeSantis's litany of garbage don't understand is, I mean, as he's taking away rights, he's adding guns, and he's taking away education, which of course these maggots want. Books bad. Seeing other people bad. Understanding other cultures is just bad, bad, bad. We should bury them. What they don't understand is you take away education from kids, you take away books from kids, understanding, learning, curiosity. You take away these things, and they're going to be curious anyway, but they're going to start getting angry. They're going to start getting really angry as they watch their lives become sequestered and suffocating. They're going to become angry. So you're going to have all these kids that grow into adults, and we see it all around us all the time. We're just basically pretty dumb. Basically, they don't have basic understanding of anything real. And there was an example there last night of what I'm talking about, got up and spoke. And, they think that not telling the truth is fine, and not living with agreed upon rules is fine, and having freedom for all is fine. If they grow up believing that, they're going to feel the suffocation when these rights that are being taken away starts affecting them, and there's a little, there's chaos. They're going to become angry adults who have now been told you can own a gun, you can carry it in public. The GOP is going to kill itself, or this isn't even the GOP. The maggots and the Trumpers are creating their own cannibals. It's awesome. And as I said, we had an example of one of these stand up last night. This guy just, he was such a delight. Apparently he was at a school board meeting, the prior one, where he lost his nut. And he went off, I missed it, unfortunately, because I would have liked to have seen part one, which I hear, from what he said, it went viral. But he was having a little maggot meltdown. And books bad, LGBTQ bad, freedom for others bad, the rights of others bad, and he went off on a bunch of conspiracy theories that he alluded to last night. At this meeting, though, somebody videotaped him, and I guess it went viral. He lost his job, is what the crying little snowflake said. Then he made up this scenario where a marauding crowd of, what do you call them, LGBT alphabet Nazis followed him home. Threatened to kill him, threatened to kill his family. Only a certain type of person is going to go, yeah, that's possible. Threatened to kill him, threatened to kill his family. They ruined him online. They were stalking him online. All right, that I buy. But, because please. Then he gets death threats. That's the maggots. That's not, anyway. He made up this scenario and he compared the rainbow flag to the Nazi flag. And the irony, he saw absolutely no irony in what he was saying, which made me giggle for so many reasons. And of course, Bridget was nodding away, and this poor man who should have been banned from the meeting for his bad behavior the last time, but was let in because Bridget Ziegler. She's nodding away and in front of us, and he threw a temper tantrum at the end when he was done, and because he was spewing all this bizarre shit, and there was a whole group of Unitarians sitting in one section, which I didn't realize immediately. Unitarians and leaders in the LGBTQ, and older leaders in the LGBTQ community here. I'm sitting with a transgender friend and another friend, and I'm taking notes, and a policeman is watching me because I've got my phone out, and I was looking up people's names and things that he would mention and other speakers would mention. I just kind of look them up and I take notes because I'm thinking. I'm trying to formulate ideas in how I could have an impact without using, words at a podium that Ziegler doesn't care about, nor her white supremacist friend Karen, and I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Anyway, he threw a temper tantrum after the rainbow flag is basically the new Nazi flag, which is just so, it's ridiculous and it's outlandish. Such a bizarre idea to have running through anyone's head. Anyway, it was running through his. Well, this group of Unitarians and other members of the community who truly want equality and freedom, truly want the definition of liberty and freedom here. They burst out laughing. I burst out laughing, and then they burst out laughing. I'm covering my mouth. I'm trying not to laugh too loud because he was having such a tantrum. And the policeman's watching me, but then this whole group starts laughing, and we just couldn't control it because it was such outlandish theater on his part. But he didn't see the irony. He didn't see what was funny. And he turned around, great, now you're laughing, you bunch of freaks, and stormed out of the meeting. Well, there was another person that stood up and started talking. There was this whole little group of church ladies, self-important church ladies, who were there. They weren't there for the school board meeting. They didn't really care about what was going on. I do. I want to know. I don't care about just the, how much hate they're spreading and what rights the school board or Ron DeSantis has decided the school boards across Florida are going to take away from kids and their parents. These other church lady speakers, they were sitting together, huddled together, being all self-important right in front of me. It was awesome. They've got their hair up. And by the way, I went in a tie and a dress shirt. Not the best choice. The tie was a little large. But I wore it anyway. So they're sitting there and of course they get up and I'm a Christian, as though that is the definition that gives you the right to throw hatred at others and take freedoms away from others. I'm a Christian. It's a free pass. I can act like an asshole now. So anyway, I'm watching these women, and they're all excited, and they're chit-chatting amongst themselves, and oh my gosh, it's my time to talk, and they're going to love me because I love Jesus, or, this weird version of Jesus. And first thing, I'm a Christian. I'm a Sunday school teacher. Dude, I was a Sunday school teacher too. My favorite kids were the ones that smelled bad and nobody else wanted. Those were the kids I liked and tried to help. But anyway, one of them gets up and points, she decides she's going to read a post from Facebook that Tom Edwards, the only gay member of the board, had posted. And it wasn't even, I don't remember what it was, but it was something innocuous. It had nothing to do with sex or anything. It was just like this innocuous post he made. And I'm listening to her and I'm trying to figure out, what is your point? He made some remark about teaching and beautiful day or something or other. I don't know. It was just a point. It had a point, but it wasn't anything rocking in anybody's world. Well, this youngish woman took great offense and had to read it. And actually, she misquoted him. So he tried to, the crowd of Unitarians and peaceniks, that are fighting, fighting for actual equality and actual freedom in this community. Two or three of them yelled out something because she had crossed a boundary in the rules of running this meeting. And Bridget had a fit. She had a fit. It was so funny. And she had one of her sanctimonious little fits. But Tom Edwards also said, this woman is misquoting me. Stop the meeting. Tom, stop the meeting. Bridget admonished him in front of the whole room, tried to lecture him on appropriate behavior, when this woman was actually misquoting something he wrote, just so she could feel sanctimonious and prove what an evil, awful person this gay man is. And it really was slightly chaotic for a second, but then Bridget opened her gob hole and started spewing out nonsense and lecturing him. And I got offended for him. He, of course, got offended. And then, just to prove how much power she has, she banged the gavel and said, we are going to take a break. This is just too much. Poor little Bridget. And yet later, another speaker misquoted someone, and Bridget wouldn't allow it. Mrs. Ziegler, whose husband's name, ironically, is Christian, Christian Ziegler, from Moms for Liberty. Talk about irony all across the board. It was so much. It was absolutely delightful. It was the most enjoyable night I've had in a long time. Because here we think, because we're watching this chaos right now, that the Ron DeSantis's of the world are going to win. That we are going to be, you know, the Handmaid's Tale, the town in the Handmaid's Tale, or the country in the Handmaid's Tale. Or we've thought that because of Trump. But being able to sit there, not say anything other than joking with my friend India about how ludicrous this whole thing is. I'm sorry, I forgot the beginning of that sentence. I forgot the beginning of the sentence, but, you know, while I'm joking with India and I'm taking things in and taking in these notes, it's dawning on me. They will never win. Whatever restrictions are put in place, they're not going to win. They are not going to win. They're not going to win. They may win for the moment, but they aren't going to win forever. It really energized me watching person after person after person stand up. And I remember this one woman stood up and she brought her small child with her and was carrying him rather. And the church ladies in front of me were like, "It's a mom. She's on our side. She wants to spew hate. This is awesome. She wants to tell us that her child can't read books. This is fantastic." And, you know, Ziegler sat up in her seat, and these women sat up in her seats, and the white supremacist Karen sat up in her seat. And we watched all these people put pride in their chests and hold their spines straight. And this girl got up, and she admonished, in a very quiet voice, admonished Bridget Ziegler for her hate, for her group, for going on Fox News and spreading her garbage. And she said, "My child knows how to apologize and to people, how to behave in public and apologize when they have committed a wrong. And you don't. You won't. Your ego's too big." I'm boiling it down. She said, "I am embarrassed. Basically, I'm embarrassed by you, and I'm frustrated that my 5-year-old knows more about decency than you do." And so I watched the church ladies kind of squirm, and Catherine Ziegler sat there with this smile on her face, as for probably for the dozenth time at least in that hour, be told face to her face that she was basically see you next Tuesday, and she needs to leave the school board. This gave me so much joy, I guess you could say, because I love a little bit of anarchy, but I love anarchy for good, not the anarchy that we have had to live with from these fake GOPers for so long. Thus, I'm going to start working on shade 2. Thus, I'm going to start working on shade 2. I had to start getting these canvases prepped so I can start the Colsons and keep this feeling of energy and purpose moving. Yeah, one of the church ladies got up and was God blessing the new superintendent, and I'm going to pray for you and all this crap. It was basically, I like you being here because I think you're on my side, and we can keep spreading discrimination and hate. So that was basically her whole point of getting up. But she listed off as the many things she's proud that students and kids in Sarasota don't have to deal with, or don't have to learn our critical race theory, of course. That's always a theme with these people. And then there was something else that she listed that I hadn't heard before, but it turns out it's a program or kind of a movement for learning how to behave decently. And some of it involves disabled children. Like I said, I don't really remember it. It was I don't remember. I had to write it down. I wrote it down. So she sat down in front of me, and then the whole kerfuffle with Tom Edwards and, this stupid ass girl from some friggin' church got misquoting him. That whole kerfuffle happened. And of course, I'm sitting in back of the church ladies, and I look over at my friends, and I just looked up whatever that was, CSR, I don't remember now, whatever it is, and I wasn't quiet. But I'm looking at my friends and I go, so what is this thing? What is this thing? Whatever it is, CSR? Again, I'm going to get this wrong, but I just kept saying it over and over and over and over again, and I was driving these women nuts. It was fantastic. It was so much fun. So what is CSR? What is that CSR? I can't find CSR. I'm Googling it. I can't find CSR. Can one of you explain to me what CSR is? That's CSR. It's such a mystery. I don't know it. Of course, I had already looked it up, whatever the initials are, the acronym, and learned it. But I just wanted to get under their skin. And I wanted one of them to turn around and say something. I was like, oh, please, dear God, acknowledge me, because we are going to have so much fun if you do. And they didn't. They just sat there squirming. They were literally squirming in their seats. And then, woo! Once I got done getting them squirming, India and her friend Jack were talking, and they stopped and were looking forward. And then India looked at me and I go, don't you hate critical race theory? Don't you hate it when people are forced to learn about other cultures or other people's experiences? It's just so god-awful that these black people want us to learn about them. I was so obnoxious, and the cop couldn't even touch me because now we're on break. So he's like over there kind of giggling a little bit and shuffling back and forth. And I go, I'm just going off my nut. They're laughing. A couple of other people were laughing. And it's not to denigrate or be disrespectful of African Americans, black and brown people. It is to make a point with these horrible church ladies who are in there sanctimoniously praying for the superintendent, who, by the way, was very clearly not on their side, although he sat there politely whenever anyone got up and spoke about the LGBTQ community and children. Children in the LGBTQ community. He was smiling and nodding his head, so there is hope. There is hope that people throughout this community and in this school system will have a harbinger of decency, a place where there is decency. Really a fun night, super extraordinary. And like I said, it's given me so much, so many ideas that I can't wait to get to work on shade 2. And this is how, this is how I start my canvases, is black and white gesso, removing some of the black, graying it out, smudging it down, watering it down. And then this is going to affect the, not just the aerosol color, but the oil that we put on top. Now, one thing I talked about at my last, at the last event that I did at Lexow Gallery, I was showing people there are so many differences in using different supplies. There are subtle differences in using different supplies, that it can affect the look and overall feel of a painting. Now, I prefer, for my aerosols, I prefer flat. I'll show you. I prefer a finish that's flat. I don't like glossy finishes because that takes the oil, once I put down the oil paint, it gives it kind of a glassine or a plastic effect, so it looks like an acrylic. And unfortunately, people keep asking me, is this acrylic, is this acrylic? And it just drives me up a tree. However, this is all we've got here in Sarasota, is glossy finish. This is like pedestrian amateur. This is pedestrian amateur stuff. This is craft or crap, so I try not to use much of it, but we only have a limited supply of aerosols here. It's mainly Montana Gold, which is a glossy finish, and we only get a few colors every once in a while at the store I can get to. So, but that takes the oil and it gives it that glassine, plasticky finish, which I can't stand. Whereas the flat aerosol, there's another company called Montana. It's Montana Black. Their cans are black. Yes, these are made in the United States. Montana Black, I believe, comes out of Germany. Totally different finish, nice and flat. So when I apply the oils, there's almost a contradiction in texture and tone. So we take the flat oil and we put the sometimes flat oil mixed with mineral spirits, flat oil over the flat aerosol. That provides opportunity to build a particular something or other in that direction using just flats. It also provides an opportunity to add Neo Miguel or other mediums so that I can get a gloss if I want to in the end. Unfortunately, we're starting off with a bit of a gloss using glossy paint. So it doesn't provide that opportunity, that choice for me. So I have to walk a little bit more gingerly when I'm applying aerosol. If you're applying aerosol to canvas, you can't put it on too thick anyway, otherwise it'll crack. But I have to put it on extra thin, and I use old caps. This is a new cap, but I'm looking for some of my old caps. They're covered with paint and they're gooey, and because it sprays out, it kind of controls the amount of paint that comes out of the can. And that way I don't end up with a glossy blob, me trying to wipe off a glossy blob, or kind of tone it down. Yeah, that was part of my talk the other day. At my, where I was supposed to be doing a demonstration and it ended up being this. Yeah, so I'm adding a little bit of gray to these sections. Because also this is going to provide opportunity for both the aerosol and the oil to act differently. To reflect light out brightly, to reflect light out in a more muted tone, but it also allows me to figure out if I want to reflect light. If I want to continue to reflect light out through the paint brightly, or do I want it more muted? This kind of controls that idiosyncrasy that you don't know unless you're a lunatic like I am. I like working from the black and white. It's confusing, and gray. It's confusing, but in that confusion, like in anarchy, I can find calm and solution. Whereas if we start off with a flat white canvas, you don't have the choices. You don't have the opportunity to play as much. Play with medium, color, light, and texture. And therefore, I find it limiting when it comes to the overall subject matter. All right, this one isn't done. Let me go grab the other one. Ooh, garbage man. So this is the second canvas, same size. They're 3 feet by 4 feet. So it's going to be this canvas, this painting of the Colsons, Reverend Mrs. Colson, when it's done, will be 6 feet by 5 feet. 4 feet? 5 feet. It'll be 6 feet high by 4 feet wide. So no, it won't fit in everyone's home. But it is going to bring my heart relief to finally get this done. To finally do it. Now there was something else I wanted to talk about. Ugh. Because I have an endless source of material, chatty material to use. Here we go. I was watching The African Queen this morning. Humphrey Bogart, Katharine Hepburn. At the time, it was considered one of the best movies ever made, and now I look at it and I go, wow, the acting was so average. But I love the idea behind it. First of all, you watch it, and Humphrey Bogart is 50 years old, and he's moving with the energy and litheness and flexibility of like a 30-year-old. That blew me away. Katharine Hepburn is 44, and she's moving like a much younger person, so kudos to them. His looks were considered going at the time, but he was Humphrey Bogart. He was like all bags and wrinkles to begin with. And that's what made him. But anywho, in The African Queen, I'm watching it. I mean, it's just a movie. It's just stories. But I was noticing I noticed the theme that we're talking about today in The African Queen, and it's in every struggle story, every good guy against bad guy story. In The African Queen, Katharine Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart meet. Katharine Hepburn is a missionary with her brother in Africa. Ew. And anyway, after a series of unfortunate events, Katharine Hepburn ends up on Humphrey Bogart's boat, tugboat, or whatever boat it was, the African Queen. That's the name of the movie. Now they also know that there are Germans in their little portion of Africa who are trying to take Africa, okay, this is weird, but trying to take Africa away from the British. I can't remember where they were, which country they were in. I'm so sorry, I forgot that part. But anyway, irony. And Katharine Hepburn is supposed to be English in this, and she decides they're gonna take Humphrey Bogart's little boat, the African Queen, through the jungle to this lake where a German boat is stationed, and they're gonna blow it up for king, queen, country, and a whole bunch of really terrible reasons. But here's the thing that got me. They, on their little mission, it made me think of this channel and the people who really watch this, and are part of our community. In this, in their mission to get this boat through the jungle into this lake to blow, they're actually gonna turn the African Queen into basically a torpedo and blow up the boat, the German boat. In this mission, they get stuck in the jungle, they get stuck in the river, they go over a waterfall which destroys the rudder and the fan, the twirly thing in the back, the propeller, sorry. You know, all these things happen. They get attacked by bugs, and it's awful, and Katharine Hepburn is just a dither over that. And they struggle, and they're cutting Katharine Hepburn is cutting their way through this very dense part of the river, and they do nothing but work towards this goal of blowing up this German boat. They put all their energy into this one mission, and they don't know if it's going to work. They don't know if they're going to be able to save the occupancy or whatever African country they're in. I can't remember. And anyway, you know, they're fighting, and they have to rig and re-rig this boat, and you know, they have to do all this stuff, and it's hard, and it's disappointing, and it can be heartbreak, and then they figure out how to fix the boat so it continues on the mission. Then they get to the lake. The German boat is in sight. They're gonna torpedo that MF. They're gonna send the African Queen, which is now all geared up with air tanks and explosives, to blow up this boat. These two little people who've been out in the middle of the woods or in the middle of the jungle and fighting to get there. They're finally there. They finally see their goal. And a wave comes, or a little storm, and a wave comes and dumps over their boat. So now their boat sinks. Their boat's underwater. The Germans have spotted them. The Germans pick them up, apparently, because the next scene we see is Humphrey Bogart is in the commander's office, and he's being interrogated. What were you doing? I was fishing. What were you doing? I was fishing. Well, you know, we could hang you. I don't care. He just kept saying, I don't really care, it doesn't matter. And he's thinking it doesn't matter anymore because he was not able to accomplish his goal, accomplish his mission. Who were you with? Nobody. What were you doing? I was fishing. Katharine Hepburn comes along and he's calling, he's calling her name and she's calling his, and I thought you were alone. He goes, it doesn't matter. He's just defeated. Well, Katharine Hepburn was not defeated quite yet. She understands that everything could end for her because of what she's done, because of their mission, the mission they assigned themselves. But she's not defeated, really. So they are sentenced to hang on the deck of the ship. They've got the ropes around their neck. The commander is ready to call for them to be hung. And then what happens? The German boat hits the African Queen. It hits this boat, it hits their mission, their purpose at this point. Blows up the boat, everyone jumps off. Humphrey Bogart, it ends with Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn swimming to shore triumphantly. She doesn't seem surprised. He seems a little surprised, but she's just like, nope, this is what we were doing and it was happening. So of course, like any good versus evil story, whether it's written and we are sanctioned to read it, we are allowed to read it or not, or it's in a movie. I mean, this is just emblematic of our lives as social activists, of our lives as social warriors or social anarchists, as I like to think of myself. But also as artists. We do this thing. We have this mission that we are driven to do. We cannot control it. We have to. We have to, we have to, we have to. It is our purpose. Whatever it is our purpose. And we get stuck in the jungle with a broken propeller like I have for years. And we end up like, even Katharine Hepburn got depressed once in a while, defeated, but you know, I end up like Humphrey Bogart, just like, I know, I don't really care. I know it's dead in the water, I don't care. But then something happens where we evolve. And we can take on that exuberance of Katharine Hepburn in this movie. I think she's illustrative of most of us, where we will go, yes, we are defeated, we are Humphrey Bogart, and then all of a sudden we're Katharine Hepburn. And we're like, nope, it ain't over. Fat lady didn't sing yet. La-di-da. And we continue on. slogging through the awful, listening to the you shoulds and you shouldn'ts, listening to the Zieglers of the world, having to tolerate all their garbage that's bogging us down, like the swamps and the jungle and African Queen, putting up with their barbs and their screaming and their attacks, like that man with the, he was making up stories about this marauding crowd of gay people chasing him home. Dude, LGBTQ people want to do parades. They don't want to know where you live. It's obvious you're a gross hoarder with guns. Get a grip. So we slog through. There's artists, you know, work being stolen or being deeply discouraged that we shouldn't go on, or that we shouldn't do what we need to do, like my black and brown figures. You keep slogging through. Keep doing the work. And then eventually we're in the clear. Eventually we're out in the middle of this great lake, staring at a German boat. We can see our goal in sight. And we will win. I can't say life will always reward us well, but with our stick-to-itiveness and our open-hearted determination, we will persevere, we will win. So if you get a chance, see African Queen and just kind of sit with it. It is old school movie, not terrifically well done. Considered a masterpiece in its time, but it's available on Pluto TV for free. And in our next episode of Studio Mate in Another State, I'll intellectualize Elf with Will Ferrell. So in when I was in high school, maybe it was elementary school, I can't remember. It's a lot I can't remember. One of my teachers suggested applying another color to the white gesso, and then working from there. But she never really explained why. I never completely understood. Because I thought you were supposed to take the canvas as it came and apply, let's say we're doing grass, green for grass. Use the obvious color to indicate the subject matter. And then one day, I just got it in my head I had to do this. This was like 12 years ago, 11 years ago. And I've been doing it ever since. And now I think about that teacher, and I don't remember her name, but she had implanted it somewhere in my head. And thank God she did. so I could see the canvas differently one day. Use it differently, see it in a fresh new way. Oh, that hurt. Without that idea being embedded in my head somewhere, I never would have thought to use black and white gesso or aerosols. I never would have understood that we don't have to use skin color as it is to us in reality. So I am grateful for that teacher. And by the way, the artists around me, that's all they did was use white canvas. When I was growing up, white canvas, and then of course the appropriate colors for the subject. Green grass is green. That's where you start, that's where it ends. So thank God this one teacher happened to mention it in passing. God knows how many decades ago. Oh, and if you're interested in learning what a shit show Sarasota is, at the hands of these lunatics, listen to the most recent episode of This American Life with Ira Glass. There's a business that's been set up here called Medical Freedom, and it has nothing to do with medicine or freedom. It has to do with supporting propaganda and supporting conspiracy theories, as also Moms for Liberty is, that ironic, ill-named organization. So listen to This American Life. And then you'll understand the climate here. And just how incredibly bizarre it is. But at the same time, because of last night, because of people I'm meeting now, I'm no longer discouraged. I'm no longer discouraged. I don't feel they're going to win. They may have millions, they may have billions, they may have sunk a lot into these ventures. But if we look back even recently, in recent history, the Tea Party was a thing. And Sarah Palin was, their new lord and master, that idiot Sarah Palin. So there's always going to be a Ziegler. There's always going to be a Ron DeSantis who's making enemies of so many people, not realizing that when those forces join together, or even that, you know, even the fractions within those little groups join together, he's lost. He's lost his war. There will always be those little church ladies. There'll always be the guy who's making actually everybody in the room laugh with the stories about being chased home by a bunch of gay people. They're always going to be there. We're always going to have a jungle to slog through. We're always going to be having these fights to be seen and respected as artists, but we just push forward. We keep going. And we find new ways of handling traditional materials, traditional situations, and making them ours. Now the big thing, as you can see, is me making sure too that I don't just, you know, treat the center of the canvas like it is the beginning and the end. It is the most important part. I try to make sure to hit all corners of the canvas. Make sure that it's all developed. If I'm not paying attention to the details, and even the little corners that one doesn't normally care about, because they would be masked by a frame, let's say, you can feel it in the overall work. Even in this underpainting, how I affect even the seemingly unimportant sections of the canvas will affect the overall work in tone. And that's why we've seen over the past 10 years, me taking the canvas and turning it and turning it and turning it. Even when we're doing a figure, turning it to make sure that it's balanced. And every corner is seen and touched. Because a lapse in continuation, a lapse in balance, a lapse in acknowledging the detail of every corner can make a painting fall apart. or make a piece of visual work fall apart. That can be said for any type of artwork, any practice. But making sure that each section is treated as though it is as important as that very center. Will keep your hopefully keep your painting or design balanced and fluid. Do it. All right, we're getting there with the second Colson canvas. Not quite done, but getting there. Okay, something happened here that I just think is so beautiful. Put down a little light gray, white, out the white gray, wiped out the white gray, and then hit here, and it just separated, and it's so pretty. It's stuff like that that just makes me happy to be a painter. Not just applying, but removing, and see what happens when we remove. Kind of dyes the canvas just a little bit. Alters its presentation, which is going to alter how I treat it in the coming layers. Just kind of graying it a little bit with one of these used up paper towels. I just grayed this, which really brought out that black. There's a tiny thin black line right there that just popped out. It's awesome. And it's a small detail that sits in my head. Oh! That I keep in mind as I'm painting. I think I'm going to leave this open. Interesting. So I'm wiping and I'm blurring, but then I'm taking water and paper towel and going in the middle, and that creates just another dimension. And this is all going to be covered with paint. But somehow knowing this chaos is there, and these different levels of grays and blacks and whites are here, the chaos calms me. Whereas, another metaphor, if it's all white, it's boring. It's boring, it's dull, it's average. And there's no room to explore. We just accept it as is. There's these grays, and these variations, again, metaphor, can bring out so many possibilities and understandings. People have compared this stage of my preparation. People tell me, oh, you should stop there, I would buy that, blah, 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 blah. But I had someone say to me once, oh, you do work like Franz Klein, and that's the exact reason I don't do this. I don't make these and go, here, we're going to sell this. Because it's a derivative of a derivative, although I didn't start doing this to be like Franz Klein. The second someone pointed it out, I knew to be cognizant of that fact. That, there was an artist that worked in blacks and whites and sometimes grays. And that there's artists that base their entire careers off of copying his idea. They're very popular. They're easy to sell. They're also cowardly, an unambitious word. Deeply uninformed. I look at some abstract work that is trying to copy Franz Klein, but trying to, you can see it and feel it in the work. When someone is trying to be like another artist because they aren't capable, this other artist isn't capable of having an original thought or an original thought yet. You can see it and you can feel it, and you can see and you can feel them trying to express a confidence that they don't have. But an unwillingness, too, to find their own way. Doing figure work like I do, with using teals and blues in the faces, with the underpainting like this, it doesn't always pay off. It doesn't mean that, people are going to recognize it or value the fact that, I figured this pattern out all on my own, this idea, and the intents behind it all on my own. As I think about the painter Jack Levine. Jack Levine was out of Boston, and he really did some unusual, had unusual subjects. He would do these intricate paintings of people in power in Boston. I think the 40s and in the 50s, possibly the 60s. Once again, can't remember. But Jack Levine did these kind of insulting paintings of these powerful figures laughing together and drinking and eating, and they were somewhat grotesque at times. Police that looked like pigs, that literally looked like pigs. He was terribly unique, just incredibly unique and single-minded in his work and driven. He was Katharine Hepburn in African Queen. And his canvas and the paints were his African Queen. I just ran out of water to dip this in, so we're going to wrap it up in a sec. Now, Jack Levine has gone off into obscurity, which is really sad and unfortunate, because he did fight the powers that be. And people in Boston, especially the people in power, were paying attention. However, the people in power, the people that were literally trying to beat him down, like the police, they didn't win. We don't know who they were. We don't remember their names. But we can find Jack Levine at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. His work. And as for his figure work, it was truly unique and unto himself. I think about him quite a bit. Anywho, this guy isn't done yet. Spin it this way. I just ran out of water to dip the cloth off. Also, I probably should stop talking. And go take a shower. So I'm going to go do that now. As I said in the beginning, this is the first canvas of a two-canvas, two-panel piece that'll be of Reverend and Mrs. Colson, the first black couple. They did not call themselves African Americans at that time. There were a number of other names that they used, but we'll say black with a capital B, the first black couple to settle here in Sarasota. So we're putting this together to be in Shade 2 at Love Art Repeat. And Shade 2 will happen in October, and it'll be super fun. We'll be giving the finger to people like Bridget Ziegler and her white supremacist Karen friend who's with her on the school board, and a lot of other people, white supremacists who are moving here. And I can't wait. It gives me absolute, complete joy and exuberance to give horrible people the finger. It makes me really happy. And because of all the, I have a tack. Because of all the PR and marketing work my sister is doing now, we'll be able to get some eyes looking at it. We'll be able to get some publicity for this go-around, unlike Shade 1, which went completely ignored by anyone in the media. I can't wait. I hope we end up on ABC 7, which we've been talking to, doing an interview with me about Frida Kahlo, and then we'll take it from there. But I'm hoping we reach the surrounding cities as well. News about it hits the surrounding cities and beyond. Because once again, it'll be all African American, black and brown figures, and it'll be the only show of its kind. Not just in Sarasota, but God knows for how many miles. And especially all black and brown figures painted by a 60-year-old white woman from Cape Cod whose ancestors jumped off the Mayflower I think we can consider that reasonably rare. So the contradictions and the dichotomy and the confusing implications are they just fill me with so much happiness. So we've got that, the Colsons, and then the last thing before we go, we've been doing this for a little over an hour. Oh, and I'm sorry, I didn't see any comments because I was talking and doing this. But one thing I do want to let you know about is I went on my website yesterday and reconfigured the Frida page. If you go to the homepage on my website, becklaneartist.com, becklaneartist.com, you go to the homepage, you can click on, there's directions there, but you can click on the Frida notice that's up, and then it says pics and info or something. You click on that, it takes you to the 55 Frida project. What I did yesterday was reorganize it because I realized I wasn't explicit in what's up now, what I'm working on, the stuff in the studio. I wasn't explicit about that. So that was reorganized. But also, too, I did something that I haven't done in the past. I put the prices for the artwork up. So every painting is up with the dimensions, with the mediums used, and with the price. So you know, and then you can contact me or you can call Lexow Gallery, but let's keep in mind Lexow Gallery is at the Unitarian Church. So there's a secretary, and then there's Linda, and Linda is actually handling the gallery, but she's not there every day. So what we can do is you can contact me, we can figure it out with Linda, the payment and everything, or if you need a payment plan, we can figure that out too, do it together. Or you can call the gallery and see what happens. Call the UU Church, Lexow Gallery, and see what happens. But all the prices are up. And I'm also thinking about applying prices to all the other work that's up. Because I'm a little apprehensive about doing that. A little apprehensive. Because what we need is for buyers to call the galleries and start the conversation. But I also kind of want people to know what range we're talking about. We have some work at Lexow that runs in the $1,800 range. That's a 24 by 24. We have 36 by 36 at $3,800. So it's not wildly overpriced. In fact, my work has been evaluated. It was actually, what do they call it? Evaluated, estimated, whatever it was. A professional took some work of mine by a buyer and appraised, there's the word. An appraiser actually took some work by a collector of mine and appraised it. And it is, at that point I would have sold it for $2,800, this one painting. He purchased it for a lot more than 3 times that, and then it was appraised at over $9,000, so, or around $9,000. So I should be raising the prices. I'm not. I'm trying to be fair and stay true to what I believe. But that I just want you to know that the appraisal value is much higher than what we're even selling it for. So keep that in mind when we're looking at a $3,800 canvas. And I hear from people all the time, they're like, I can't afford that. It's like, I can't afford it either. But we've been working really hard to increase the value of the work that's available. So right now, the most expensive painting is $3,800. We do have other work that's bigger and more expensive. You know, the price range is much higher. But again, the appraisal value. So let's keep that in mind, and we can always find a way to make it work. Anyway, I'm Beck Lane. This is Catalyst and Company. We're going to wrap it up. My throat's sore from talking so much, but it was really fun to tell you about all the things. And Catalyst and Company, if you'd like to help support Catalyst and Company, all the links are down below, including links to TeePublic, where I still haven't put up images of the new Fridas. I am going to be working on it, but we have 48 different 48 different designs or paintings that you can buy images of printed on t-shirts. And my friend, one of my friends, Devin, sent me pictures. She bought 2 t-shirts with artwork printed on it. Anyway, you can get a t-shirt, tank tops for summertime, hoodies, coffee mugs, which I'm going to get myself one. Because all I've got is my mug from Target. But you can get images of my work printed on coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of things. Tote bags, phone cases. Then also, if you'd like to support Catalyst and Company in another way, there's Patreon, where we're going to improve the site and we will be communicating more. But Patreon, you can supply monthly support for as little as $5 a month. For $10 a month, that's when you can start choosing things, items that were made specifically for Patreon. And we're also going to improve that inventory as well, the selection as well. But on Patreon, so you know where you can supply as little as $5 a month and support me and buy me paint and stuff. Help me buy paint and stuff. You can change tiers. When you go in and you see $5, $10, $20, $25, let's say you've bought one, you've committed to supporting Catalyst and Company or me for $25 or $20 a month, and then I add another mug set, let's say, or another item that you like at that level. You can't afford to go up. You're not interested in going up. When we apply another piece of merchandise or another couple of pieces of merchandise at that level, you can change your mind. You can go, no, I want this instead. You can do that at any time. But let's say you're at the $5 level and you want to go to 10. You can change that at any time. Or you want to go from 20 to 25 or to 35 or to $50 a month. We're going to keep increasing the merchandise, so at any point you can go, no, change my mind, I want that instead. Okay, I want you to know that. And then also there's Cash App, PayPal, links down below. I think Venmo, I'm not sure, Zelle. But also links to my galleries. We've got Raphael Coelho in Newark, New Jersey, Jay Louise, of course, at Blue Egg Gallery, and Intra and Mark at Chasen Galleries here in Sarasota. All right, that's it. We're done talking. Kerry, I'm sending you a thank you note. I can't believe you did it again, Kerry. You knew. I was standing here trying to figure out how I was going to buy paint today. I need orange, I need certain colors so I can just keep working, and you did it. Kerry, thank you. And one day we're going to have to figure out how I can get a painting to you, because I think you've bought one already, you've paid for one. We're going to have to figure that out once the dust settles. Anyway, Kerry, thank you so much. Kerry Tice, thinking of you, thank you for texting me. Lisa, your comments crack me up. Brenda, I want to hear from you, please. I miss you. Eric, thank you for everything and all the messages that you send. I appreciate all the messages people send, and then there's special friendships like Eric and Carrie, a number of other people. Pam, if you're watching, I was at that school board meeting. I saw the wacky. It was awesome. But to everyone else, I just appreciate you being here and spending time with me. So that's the end of another studio, mate. We'll do this again later. All right, ready? Here we go, Carrie. Ciao. Meow, 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 boink, boink.